Leaders without education create bad habits. Follow me. Let's go.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Live Leadership Chat with JJ Hardy and me, Chris Piankowski. This is something that JJ and I are doing every other week. We're going to come in hot, talk about one leadership topic every other week. The goal is to provide some value, some nuggets of information that you're able to take back and apply in your real life. So, JJ, how you doing today? Happy Friday.
Hey, happy Friday. You know, if I'm alive and vertical, I'm doing great.
Same here.
Good.
Awesome. So, our last live was that was our first one. And it was really just the intro of who we are, what we do. And now we're going to start to get into the meat of some topics. And we kind of ended that last conversation briefly around the edges of servant leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to dedicate today's live to, is talking about servant leadership.
This is going to be great.
I think it's an awesome topic. It's something that, people, I think, sometimes understand, sometimes don't understand. But to kick us off, I just want to read the definition from SHRM. This is Society of Human Resource Management. So according to SHRM, servant leadership is a leadership style that prioritizes the growth, well-being, and empowerment of employees. It aims to foster an inclusive environment that enables everyone in the organization to thrive as their authentic self. Whereas traditional leadership focuses on the success of the company or the organization, servant leadership puts employees first to grow the organization through their commitment and engagement. What do you think about that definition, JJ?
Well, I think the thing you have to consider with that is just because you keep the people in mind, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not still keeping the business in mind. Leadership as a whole, when you start thinking about it and talking about it, there has to be balance. You have to tip that scale just perfectly, because you can't just do everything for others all the time. And so, it's great that you want to create influence by, making sure that you're putting your people first. But in the very definition itself, it says that it's different than the traditional style of leadership. And it is, but it isn't. I mean, that's what came to mind for me. And service, in my opinion, is when you put others before yourself.
I agree. When you care about your people and you demonstrate that through your actions, through your words, and the way that you put them first, that's really when people are going to perform at their highest level. When they know that you as a leader have their back, and they know that your philosophy is to serve them in order to empower them to do better, they're always going to do better.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. There has to be a balance, because, you can take it too far to the extreme where people could walk all over you when they think that, hey, JJ is just doing everything that I want him to do. So guess what? Every Friday, we're taking a 2-hour lunch break and we're going to the bar. No, that's not what servant leadership is about.
Nope. Yeah. And it's important to acknowledge that, because, I would never underestimate anyone who's in a leadership position by saying that their kindness means that you can do whatever you want. Don't mistake their kindness for weakness.
Correct.
These people in leadership positions, they have to hold a very fine line. So they want you to do well and they want what's best for you, but they're also not going to let the business go under because you want to act a fool. I mean, don't mistake their kindness for weakness. I mean, that's basically the first thing that comes to mind. And you got to hold that line sometimes. And it's not always pretty if somebody thinks that they're just going to push you to your end.
That's right. The old saying, and I heard you say, give an inch, take a mile.
Yes. Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that could happen whether it's employees, whether it's whenever I think about leadership, it's not just from a work standpoint, right? Leadership is the way that we conduct ourselves, the way that we lead ourselves and show up for others.
Yep.
So whether it's your kids, I've got 3 teenage sons. I know if I give them an inch, they're taking a foot. Um, it's your friends, it's whoever it is. So
Mhm.
yes, there's always a balance.
There is a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes that balance needs to tip in favor of the business. Or, one thing is, if you have an entire team, or maybe you're a business owner, you run that entire business, you have a lot of people working there, and you can't show favoritism. So
Yeah.
sometimes that balance is you stepping back after hearing everyone's opinion and doing what's right. And I would hate to say that it's only your opinion that matters, but you can't just make one decision based off of one person's comment. It needs to be for the betterment of the whole group.
That's right. Yeah. But the flip side of that too, and I think it ties in really well with this topic of servant leadership, is I often tell people that if you've got one person who is dragging the team down, that is the time that you need to make a decision based on that one person. But when you're talking about, a path forward, or hey, I've laid out an issue that I'm looking for feedback from the team, that's when you collect the data and make the decision that is going to benefit, the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a dichotomy, right? And there's always things that you need to weigh.
Well, in addition to that, making that decision for that one person. I like how you said that, because you when you go into a larger organization, every new policy that they make is because somebody made a mistake or somebody struggled. And now there's a policy that everybody has to follow to account for that lowest common denominator.
Yes.
Why would you do that? I always say that servant leadership means, it's what I can do for you, not what you can do for me. And especially in today's workforce, where it's hard to find people that stick around for a long time, sometimes you need to make sure that all of your training and your procedures kind of cater to that lowest common denominator, because you never know who you're going to get. And if they try really hard, but they are not necessarily up to snuff, you need to make concessions for that. Me personally, I would much rather have a low performer that cares and tries really hard every day than somebody who does well when they do try, but then they don't show up the other half of the time.
Right. Yeah. There's a difference between a high performer who's toxic and a low performer who's giving it their all and they're bought in.
Mm-hmm.
That toxic high performer sometimes needs to be used as an example of, all right, it's time for you to go. And it can sometimes help get other people in line.
And actually, I've promoted those people that try really, really hard to a leadership position over the high performers, because of how much they care about the people and how much they care about the job itself.
Yeah.
And when you have somebody who cares, that's 3/4 of servant leadership right there, because they're going to do what's best for the team all the time. And
Yeah.
they're, and then all the other leadership principles that go along with that, those can be taught. But that level of care and understanding, and that ability to push through, and that you can't train that. When people care, you got to bottle that up and try to spread it out.
Yeah. So are you saying that servant leadership is something that's innate within a person?
No. I would say that I don't think anybody shows up to work on a daily basis trying to do poorly. But what's the norm in the workplace that I've seen is that people will focus on deadlines. They will focus on the minute tasks, and they will focus on their stats to try to make sure everything is getting done and they're constantly improving. But to serve is more than that. You got to go down and make sure your people have what they need on a daily basis. So there's kind of a mindset that goes along with that. And if you don't talk about it, it's almost like mental health. If you think somebody is struggling and you never address it, then that person's never going to get better.
Yes.
But if you have a conversation around what it takes to serve, just mentioning that, you really have to make sure these people have what they need instead of just giving you what you need, then they're not going to do it, because guess what? All they know is that from the top down, they're getting beaten up on a regular basis for getting their work done, their team getting their work done. So if that's how they were raised in the workplace, then they're going to continue that unless something clicks in their head. Maybe they watch some goofballs like you and me on social media talking about something, or they read a book. I mean, there's not enough training for these things.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right. There's a lot of carryover from, what SHRM considers to be the traditional leadership style that has created bad habits. And there's also a lack of understanding around servant leadership. A lot of people think that servant leadership means that when we order in pizza to the office, the boss eats last. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Like, yes, your people should eat before you. There are other things that your people should be doing before you get to enjoy them. But that's where a lot of people's perception of servant leadership ends. And, I think there's a whole lot more to unpack about what it means.
Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right. But, that is a good start, because if you really start off explaining it and that's the only thing they know, then if that's what they understand, then you elaborate on that. If you're willing to feed your people first, then why isn't it that you wouldn't put them first in almost every aspect of the job? Instead of firing that person when they're not performing well, maybe you should walk up to that person, have a conversation with them, do a little bit of teaching, a little bit of coaching, and then, continue to check in with that person, because it's not about you. You can't do your job as a manager, a director, a business owner without everybody in your organization. So why would you make it about you when it's really about them?
That's right. It's kind of like when you're in the airplane and they're giving you the safety brief, you put on your mask first so that you can help others.
That's right.
But the help others is really where the rubber meets the road.
It is. Yeah. Helping others is what it's all about. And you're right. Taking that into every facet of your life. If you're just barking orders at your kids all the time, it's going to work the same way as in the office.
Yeah.
Sure, you might have that fear factor. Oh, I'm going to get fired, or I'm going to get my phone taken away from me if you're at home, but fear only lasts so long before it starts to turn into it's going to be anarchy. It's going to be a rebellion. You're going to have people that are going to fight against you, or what's even worse and more costly in the workplace is you're going to have high turnover.
Yes.
You're going to constantly have to train new employees all the time, which takes the time of everybody else away. And though that training is important to make sure that they get what they need, you don't want to constantly have to start from scratch every 30 days or every month and a half or 2 months or even a year. You want people to stick with you. So if you want that, get rid of the fear, get rid of the intimidation, get rid of the the Saddam Hussein and, you know, this iron fist crap that you have going on in your mind, and just help people understand and guide them through the process. Listen to them when they talk to you.
That right there, what you just said, listen to people. You know, I always talk about communication is the first principle of leadership. And communication is the way that you give and receive information. It's not a one-way street.
Nope.
And leaders need to be listening more than they're speaking, in my opinion, because when you come across as the person who has all the answers and you're trying to use your authority to get people to do things, that's going to backfire more times than not.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, yes, a leader may have quote unquote authority because of a title that they have, but a title doesn't make you a leader.
Nope.
You know, it's action, it's words, it's the way that you treat people. Your frontline employees could be demonstrating servant leadership, and they don't need that title, but it's the way that they carry themselves and they care about their coworkers and the customers and things like that.
And oftentimes, isn't it interesting how the best servant leaders in your organizations are the high performers that kind of keep to themselves and they're kind of quiet?
Yeah. Yes.
The ones that stay in that same job for years and do it extremely well, and they prefer to be left alone, but then they're always going out and helping everybody else on the team figure stuff out too.
Yes.
They are great, but it doesn't mean that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily promote those kind of people. Don't get me wrong. I mean, some of those people want to stay in a position and whatever, but when you're looking for leadership qualities, that person that sticks with it and that person that is constantly out there looking to see how they can make everything better, that's what you want.
Yeah.
And that person that is always in the military, we call them barracks lawyers, those people that know everything and you can't tell them anything because they know it all. All I can say is exclamation point, watch out, be careful, because that, unfortunately, people gravitate towards those people.
Yeah.
And how toxic is that to your team when you find out that that person is actually garbage?
Yeah.
Usually they're the ones who mouth off.
Yes.
And do all the things that make your team terrible.
That's right.
So be careful. You look for the people that are always trying to help and they're not looking for the credit, because the people that are out there seeking the credit are the ones who are they're going to stand out for a while until they realize that, until the workplace realizes that they're.
Exactly. You know, some of the best servant leaders that I've worked with kind of fit the description that you're talking about. High performer. They're great at their job. They don't necessarily want to lead people. They're not looking for the kudos or the advancement, but they're that, I don't want to call them the quiet coach, but they know when to speak up and help a junior person or help a coworker, and they know when to keep their freaking mouth closed. But those people have, in my opinion or my experience, are the best servant leaders, because they're like, look, I don't want the headaches of management. I just want to do my job and be the best at my job that I can be. And if you've got junior people that have questions, you can send them my way. I'm happy to answer questions, but I don't want to be accountable for their performance and all that, all the headaches that come along with management and leading. I just want to do my job. And I'll take someone like that every day of the week.
Yep.
Just heads down, wants to rock and roll, wants to be helpful when they can, but knows when to shut up.
And, you know, if you really want to measure how well you're doing as a servant leader, there's an 80-20 rule for sales. There's an 80-20 rule for everything.
Yes.
But I'm going to go ahead and say that if you're doing a really, really good job, you're going to have a great team. But unfortunately, there's always that 10 or 20% that are always going to try you, and they're always going to be looking for the next thing to make an excuse about or whatever. And so that's really kind of how you measure success as a servant leader, is that you have the majority of your people that want to work hard for you, and you have regular conversations with them.
Mm-hmm.
They come to you when they need help. I mean, they're not shy with you. So many workplaces that I go into and have been a part of, I mean, for the past really 24, 25 years, is, managers are feared. There's almost like an intimidation factor. They're not approachable, and people just don't want to talk to them. And I've never understood that. Maybe when I first got my leadership position, because I had somebody tell me that you can't take any crap from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I quickly learned that that wasn't the case. And then I started to take classes and listen to other people that actually mattered and were excelling. And I realized that what it takes is to listen. And, if you have a team that will constantly come and talk to you, there's your success measured right there.
I agree.
Well, they have to be performing too, but
sure.
I mean, that's any job. But if you have constant communication with your people, the likelihood that they're going to be doing the things that you ask them to do, it's much higher. You really have to watch out for that 10 to 20% though.
You do. And you're right. The approachability, and not just that, but it's when leaders demonstrate how much they care for the people that are on their team, when they know their family members. Hey, your kid had a football game Friday night. How'd that game go? It's as simple as that people really say, like, wow, Chris is tracking like what's going on here, and he cares about it. Like, JJ asked me about my mom's 80th birthday party over the weekend. Like, that means something to me. When you work in like big office buildings and you've got like security, knowing those security people's names when you walk in, hey, Bob, how's your morning going? Like, dude, those people will go above and beyond.
Yep.
When we as leaders just make those small kind of gestures to get to know them and be genuine. The genuine part is really where the rubber meets the road.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can go through the questions or the motions of the questions. Hey, how's the family going? And it's like, dude, I know you're just wasting my time while you pour your coffee.
Perfect example would be, hey, man, I just told you that 30 minutes ago.
Right. Exactly.
But you're right. I mean, the fact that you are there for your people, you're constantly asking them these questions. You're right. Knowing this information is extremely critical. Mm-hmm. But I mean, even if you don't want to get down to a personal level, but you're getting down to the level where you understand who they talk to when there's trouble in the workplace, or if they're having a bad day, where they're wandering off to, and understanding, oh my gosh, understanding when somebody is having a bad day.
Yeah.
Maybe that person, you need to pull them off to the side for 5 minutes. Okay. 5 minutes is a long time in some jobs, but 5 minutes can be worth it, just to tell them that you noticed, that you care. And if they need to talk, even if it's not with you, that you take the time to do so. And sometimes it's even going to the next level, because no one does a great job at work when they can't focus on the job. So even giving them the opportunity to take an extra break, or if you have the ability in your organization to give somebody a day off, those things go a long way. And people remember that stuff. because you
They
never
do.
know what you never know what's going on in somebody's life. They could be showing up. Maybe their dog died, or maybe their mom died, or maybe one of their kids are in the hospital. They might not tell you right away. People can be proud.
Right.
But if you can just walk up you don't even have to ask them what's going on. You should, but just acknowledging that there's a problem and giving them an opportunity to open up to you, that speaks volumes for you. And they'll talk about that after their mind gets right and they get a lot better. They're going to be talking to the other people on your team about that. And they're going to say, that one time that I was struggling, nobody at work cared, but Chris came up and talked to me, and he told me he could tell that I was not feeling well that day, or that, there was something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And what a powerful thing. Because some people are just like, I don't know, they go off on people when they make a mistake, but they've talked to them 4 times that day already, and they had been displaying signs of some sort of agitation or depression or something all day long, and they just moved on.
Yep.
Because they had to keep up with production. But when you know your people and you understand who they are, who they talk to, and what their personality is, you'll pick up on these things.
Yeah. And I think that also comes back to being approachable, right? When your people know that you care and they know that they can come talk to you, there's also a line that we need to walk as leaders where one of your people comes up to you and says, "Hey, how was your weekend?" So many people are like, "Great weekend, best weekend ever," and they just keep it surface level. I'm a firm believer that as a leader, you need to let people in a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to share all of your troubles and woes, but hey, go a little deeper. Like, hey, you know what? My kid had a soccer game on Saturday. They played hard, but they didn't win. Just like share, like be a person.
Mm-hmm.
That helps people connect with you. And, that again, it just comes back to the leading by example and serving others. You're actually serving someone when you're being transparent's not the right word, but
Vulnerable.
That's exactly it.
Yep. Just had a conversation about that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to come up with it either. Vulnerability is very important. And it's, again, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago. When you start thinking about how leaders have this intimidation, a manager, I would say not a leader, a manager has this intimidation factor.
Mm-hmm.
And that intimidation has nothing to do with how big or loud or whatever it is that they are. It has to do with how approachable they are. Well, if you really want your people to talk to you, you'll let them in just a little bit, like you said. And sometimes that's even telling them, if you're having a bad day, oh man, I got up this morning and my dog got me up at like 3:00 a.m. and I have not been able to get back to sleep. I'm a little bit tired, but I'm here. Let's go.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, you still have to push through. I mean,
you got to perform.
Yeah, you got to perform. Yeah. But, just letting people know that you are human too, because there's that human factor.
That's right.
When you are always that guy that's a rock for the team, that's great. That's fine. That's wonderful. But sometimes you have to be that squishy rock. Yeah. Because if you're not, when other people are a squishy rock, they're going to be like, "Oh, I can't talk about that while I'm here. I gotta keep a straight face and do what I gotta do." No, that doesn't always work, because you're gonna tire out. You're gonna end up getting to a point where when you need the time, you're not going to take it, because there are whatever sort of standards that you're setting, because you're not showing that you have any vulnerabilities at all. And that's not okay for your people.
Yeah. And I know we're getting close to time. We We said we're going to try to keep this to 30 minutes so that we can be, high impact, in and out, dropping some nuggets.
Love it.
We came in here today to talk about servant leadership, and the conversation, while it was totally tied to servant leadership, I think that we may have given a glimpse into some things that people don't often think about as servant leaders: being human, being approachable, being there for your people. It's not just about letting your people eat the pizza first, right? It goes so much further beyond that. And even in 30 minutes, we're not going to be able to really scratch the surface on what servant leadership is. But I hope that anyone who's watching this, whether live or on a rebroadcast, they get to see that, there are layers to this thing. And there are so many different factors that go into being a servant leader that, it takes time to learn and practice. But, I hope that we gave some people things to think about and things they could take back and start applying in their workplaces and in their lives.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And, just one final plug that will only take about 10 seconds. All of these principles where you are constantly giving to others and doing things for other people and, what can I do for you, not what you do for me. If you apply that laterally with your peers and then to your seniors as well, if you're stuck in a job where you want to get promoted and you haven't been able to do it forever, just keep in mind that this works laterally and to your seniors as well.
Great point. It's not just for those that you lead, but it's for those that are all around you, your entire sphere of influence. Top, bottom, and across the sides.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, great conversation, Chris. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Me too.
Have you?
Yeah, man. Because this is a topic that I have really embraced for a long time. So getting a chance to just have the conversation live and hopefully other people can take something away from it, I've been pumped about it.
Me too. Yeah.
So, and I'll be looking forward to the next.
Plus, I get to pick your brain a little bit.
Hey, that's where it all, that's the benefit, right? You and I, we've got different backgrounds, different experiences, but these are topics that we're both passionate about. So I think that's also where the value comes in for anyone watching, is they see two people with experience, but different experience talking about the same thing. And they get such a wide range of ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited about doing this series every other week.
Me too.
So everybody, thanks for joining us. If you joined us live, if you're watching this on the rebroadcast, hope you have an awesome day. Apply some of these principles of servant leadership. And from me and JJ, have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Keep the conversation going in the comments, people. This is a great topic. Keep the conversation going in the comments. But anyway, I have nothing else. I'm done.
We will answer, but that's a good point. Keep the conversation going.
Yep. All right. Take care, Chris.
All right, JJ. I'll see you.